sister asked me to be her maid of honor, while secretly sleeping with my husband. So I showed up at her wedding, with a gift no one saw coming. And she never even made it to the vows. Part 2. This wasn't a hotel. This wasn't Savannah. This was my bedroom. The next photo was worse, Scarlett on her stomach, Caleb half asleep behind her. His hand curled over the curve of her hip and a caption under it written by her. Not bad for a quick nap. My fingers went numb, not from shock, but from clarity. The kind that cracks like frost under pressure. I exited the folder, forwarded 2 images to my phone, deleted the airdrop request. Scarlett walked back in. Did it go through? She asked, sipping a green smoothie. I smiled, nodded and said, all set. She kissed my cheek on the way out like nothing had happened, but something had, something irreversible, and now I had the proof, chilling, undeniable, framed in my sheets and my silence. Would you confront them or wait until she's wearing white? I couldn't sleep that night, not even with the pills, Caleb, once prescribed for those nights when your mind won't stop moving. My mind wasn't moving, it was frozen. Looping the same 2 images over and over, until they blurred into noise. I got out of bed, and sat on the kitchen floor barefoot back against the fridge. And I remembered the worst night of my life, 3 months ago. The pain started around 11 p.m. Sharp, deep, wrong. I thought it was just cramping. I tried to breathe through it, but when the bleeding wouldn't stop, I drove myself to the ER alone. Caleb was in Savannah. Scarlett had offered to stay at my place just in case anything feels off, at 2:14 a.m. As I lay in that sterile bed under cold fluorescent light, a message came in. Scarlett, I'm still at your place. Just lit your lavender candle. Hope it helps when you get home. I had held on to that text like a life raft, told myself I wasn't alone, that my sister was waiting for me. But now I know she was in my bed with my husband, breathing in my candle while I bled out the child we all said we wanted. I didn't cry. I just stared at the fridge magnet with the grocery list Scarlett had scribbled weeks ago. Almond milk, lemon bars, shampoo. Love doesn't always die with a scream. Sometimes it slips out like a quiet exhale after too many lies. The next morning, I packed the photos in a plain envelope, wrote 2 words on the front for the bride. Then I placed it in my nightstand. Not because I was ready, but because I needed to remember I wasn't crazy, I wasn't dramatic, I wasn't imagining things. They were real, the betrayal was real. And the woman walking down the aisle this weekend was not my sister anymore. She was a stranger wearing my lipstick and calling it love. Do you destroy her wedding, or let karma do the work? The call came just after midnight. I almost didn't answer, but something in me wanted to hear her voice. Hey Scarlett, whispered like the silence was sacred. I know you've been distant, but I need you tomorrow. I didn't say anything. She kept going. I can't walk down that aisle without you there. You're my only family. You always were. I stared at the ceiling, counting the cracks above the fan. Then I lied softly, calmly, I'll be there. She exhaled like I'd handed her oxygen. Thank you, I knew you would. You're the strongest person I know, I smiled. She didn't hear the click of my printer spitting out copies of the photos. She didn't see me sliding them into a pale gray envelope, one that matched her bridesmaid clutches. She didn't know I'd spent the last hour writing a note in the same looping script I once used to forge Mom's signature on field trip forms. For when the dress no longer protects you. I sealed the envelope, slid it beneath the gift table with her name calligraphed in gold. Then I walked into the closet and chose a dress the color of ash. If she wanted me at her wedding, fine. I'd come not as her sister, as her reckoning. The morning of Scarlett's wedding, the sky hung low over Asheville. Clouds sat like breath held too long, unmoving, waiting. I stood in front of the closet for almost 10 minutes, touching fabric, feeling for silence. No white, no pink, nothing cheerful or soft. I chose slate gray, structured shoulders, slight waist taper. It didn't say joy and it didn't say grief. It said I see everything. I tied my hair back, clear lip balm, a dusting of powder, no mascara. I wanted no risk of smudges. In my purse, phone, mint spare charger, and one envelope, gray matte unsealed. Inside the photos, the truth and a single line written in black pen. For when the dress no longer protects you. I arrived at the venue before noon. The glass chapel sat deep in the forest, nestled between birch trees and curated wildflowers. It looked exactly like her Pinterest board, almost too perfect. Scarlett always said she wanted to feel like a woodland queen. I wondered if queens ever had to face the crowd once the illusion cracked. No one noticed me, which suited me just fine. Inside, the florists were arguing about rose placement. The photographer was adjusting light. Someone from catering handed me a flute of cucumber water, before realizing I wasn't part of the planning team. I made my way to the bridal suite. Scarlett's clutch lay on the dressing table, monogrammed SJ, surrounded by lipsticks and lavender sachets. I didn't pause. I slid the envelope under her compact mirror. It blended with the shadows, elegant, quiet, measured. Then I left the room before the makeup artist returned. The hallway was lined with photos of Scarlett and Blake, laughing at vineyards, cuddling puppies, standing in front of white curtains, and rented backdrops. All fantasy, all fog. Downstairs the guests had started to arrive. Strings of gold ribbon danced between rows of seats. And then I saw him, Caleb, standing alone near the second row, adjusting his cuffs like nerves might come off in the crease. Our eyes met. He walked over slow, cautious. Didn't think you'd come, he said. I smiled just enough. Why wouldn't I? It's family. He looked at me longer than necessary, like he was waiting for a crack to open in my face, like he expected rage or at least grief. But I gave him nothing. Just a steady breath and a silence he couldn't decode. He searched for cracks. I gave him none. The ceremony began at exactly 3:07. Scarlett was never one to be fashionably late. She liked the world to wait for her, but only just enough, guests whispered as she entered. Her gown was ivory lace, long-sleeved, fitted like skin. Her veil floated behind her like a second ghost. The quartet played something slow and cinematic. The aisle glimmered under skylight. Even the birds outside the chapel seemed to hold their breath. I sat on the end of the third row, close enough to see her face, far enough to stay untouched. She held a bouquet of white ranunculus, her favorite. She once told me they looked like lies pretending to be roses. Blake stood at the altar, posture perfect, smile soft. He looked like the promise she always wanted. But it wasn't Blake she glanced at when she reached the front. It was Caleb. For half a second, quick as a blink, their eyes met. And in that glance, I saw it, recognition, familiarity, a code they thought only they understood. But I understood it too. Now the vows were brief. Scarlett's voice shook just enough to sound sincere. Blake kissed her like he meant forever. The guests cheered. The quartet picked up tempo. The air seemed to lift at the reception tables glittered with gold cutlery and crystal flutes, every napkin folded into a rose, every plate arranged like a painting. The speeches began. Her best friend, maid of honor, told stories of middle school secrets. Their new mother-in-law toasted to loyalty, patience, and grace. Scarlett dabbed the corner of her eye with a linen square. Then someone tapped my arm. "You're next," they whispered. I didn't flinch. I walked up slowly, took the mic. Scarlett smiled at me, tense, hopeful, testing. I didn't smile back. "Scarlett," I said, "has always been a woman who gets what she wants." Soft laughter. "When we were kids, she used to steal the last cookie, then convince me I'd eaten it myself." More laughter, louder this time. "She was magic, still is. But magic, as we know, comes with consequences." The room hushed. Even the silverware stilled. "She once told me that love is just attention worn long enough to look like devotion." I didn't believe her. Then I turned. Blake sat still, glass half raised. I walked over, set the monogram clutch gently in front of him. "She left this backstage," I said, then stepped off the platform.